Hi, come on in.
And join in. It's the Very Merry Life. Hi, I'm Mary Hendricks, and you might know me as that relatable AF Mama over on Instagram who hopefully feels like an old friend at this point. And if not, it won't be long till it feels that way as we get raw, unfiltered, and very unapologetic in all things motherhood, marriage, sex, and more. From moments worth savoring to moments worth surviving, get ready to leave feeling seen and supported. You have a friend here now, so hey, take a seat. What's going on? Hello. Hi, guys. Welcome back to another episode, a solo episode of The Very Merry Life. I have a bowl of food in my hands that I should probably not eat while I'm talking to you guys. That way I don't gross you out. That's like a thing. Isn't that like a phobia or something of hearing people's mouths moving of some sort or like chewing? I know it is because I shared a reel once of like that chewing noise and people freaked out. I don't have that fear, clearly, but I'm going to spare you just in case you do. Anyway, another solo episode. Like I said, every month you're going to hear about 2 solo episodes from me specifically. They're going to be, short and sweet, about 30 minutes or so, where I'm just going to kind of fill you in as to what's going on, what's happening, what's going on in our worlds, but also talk about something maybe that, I brought up over on Instagram and got conversation started. And I want to kind of boil in a little bit more to that. And that's what I want to do today. So a few things, but you're hearing this on May 16th, I believe, May 15th or May 16th, whatever day that Tuesday is. So I'm currently recording this on April 29th. Yesterday was the 28th. And yesterday, Kevin and Cassidy had their first ever daddy-daughter dance. And it was so cute. Oh my gosh. If you saw it on my Instagram stories, you would have seen them getting ready. And I got super emotional because, oh my gosh, like, wasn't she just a baby? That blows my mind. And of course, then my brain spiraled and went down the rabbit hole of being like, oh, this is so sweet. He's taking her to her dance and, God willing, we'll one day be able to witness her getting married. And I'm going to have this thought playing in my head and it's literally going to be like I blinked and I went down the rabbit hole and I got emotional. But with that being said, I showed Cassidy a little video that I put together of her getting ready for the dance and her going off to the dance this morning. And she was watching it and all of a sudden she looks at me and she says, I don't like this. I don't look beautiful. Guys, that hurts my heart so much because I am so careful. And she's not getting it from us. I can say that first and confidently. She's not getting that from us. Neither Kev or me. I'm so careful. I'm so careful. And that's what I want to talk about today with like my history of body dysmorphia, eating disorder, self-harm, things like that. Because of my history, I am so careful. I'm so careful. And Kev, he's also very careful. We have that history on both sides, not for him specifically, but people in his life that have struggled. We are very aware as to what we say about ourselves in front of our kids, but also what others say about, and themselves or anything in front of our kids. And I asked her, I was like, wait, what do you mean? And she said, I want long hair. Long hair is beautiful. Definitely did not get that from me because considering I have like short shoulder length hair, but I said, you are beautiful. I was like, who do you think made you? Who made you? And she said, Daddy. And I said, and Mommy and God. And I'm religious, guys. I've talked about this before. That's a completely side conversation I can get into at a further date, but I am religious in some sort of way. I have a spiritual faith. And I do believe, someone else was involved in her creation, but I said that to her and, she was like, okay. And she said, I just want long hair. And I was like, you will have long hair. You will get long hair if we let it keep on growing. And I said, but you are beautiful right now. And she's all into, the book right now. I think it's called Olivia. It's about a pig. It's funny, actually. I read it to her the other night and it's about a pig who doesn't want to be a pink, pretty tutu wearing princess like all the other girls do. She wants to kind of do her own thing. And it's very funny, just her outlook in this book, this character. And at the end, she says, I don't want to be a princess. I want to be a queen. And I loved it. And Cassidy had the book near her and I picked it up and I showed it to her. And I was like, look, I said, Olivia didn't want to do what everyone else was doing. She was beautiful in her own way. And I just went through that. And it just, I'm trying so hard to navigate that with her. She's getting to that age where she's starting to notice the differences in other people. And I do kind of get a little trepidatious because she is in, school. She's in public preschool. She'll start kindergarten next year. Cassidy, like, especially with Cassidy's had, odds against her. I don't know which way I want to say that, but she has a speech delay. I know with having a speech delay, with us navigating it, when she was a little kid, I would take her to like the playground, or I would take her to like some area where other little kids her age would be. And sometimes because she couldn't communicate very well, people, like the kids would kind of stare at her all funny and not really understand what she was trying to do or understand what she was trying to say. And I would always feel like a little defensive of that, but I let her do her thing because Cassidy just like, she's little. She could care less. Like, she didn't notice it. I was noticing it. And I just wanted to keep her safe, but I also let her do her own thing. I didn't want to like create that complex. I didn't want to call out a problem that she didn't even know existed, if that makes sense. So I didn't say anything. And, I get scared with her being in school. Like, did she pick that up at school? This idea that, that she's not beautiful because she doesn't have long hair? Like, did she hear that from some other child? I can't control what other kids are hearing at home and saying to her. That's one of my, things with her going to public school that gives me the anxiousness. But I think about that where I'm like, does it have anything to do with her speech? Like, are people going to be mean to her? I also get nervous because Cassidy also has a significant underbite. And eventually we're going to have to, probably within the next 1 or 2 years, we're going to have to go and really explore that with an orthodontist and figure out what the next steps are going to be in terms of correcting it. And it's very potential that she can end up having surgery to correct it. But I think about that and I'm like, are people making fun of her because she has a certain appearance to her face? I think she's beautiful, but maybe kids are seeing something that I don't know. I don't know, but it's like a knife to my chest because I'm trying so hard to give my kids a gift that I have worked so hard to receive myself. And that's the gift of confidence. And that is something I want more than anything for my children, is that gift. And it's not so much confidence, it's confidence and joy in themselves, because I think that is so hard to come by. And I think it's really hard. Like I said, it's one of those things that we don't even know how to gift ourselves. And a lot of us are still on our journey of finding that. But it's something I want to try and instill in her as a child. That way, as she moves forward in life and she encounters people who perhaps aren't so kind to her, that she is able to navigate that and push through without it even leaving a mark. And I want that so badly for her. And when I mean confidence and joy, I want to kind of divulge into that. Confidence is obviously knowing who you are and everything about it and being content with that knowledge. Joy is the joy, essentially, the love of who that is, and acceptance of who that is. Because confidence is one thing. You can be fully aware as to who you are, but do you like it? Are you happy with who you are? Are you content knowing that this is your truth? This is your story. And I think that's a big thing. And confidence is a big gift. It's a big gift, like I said. And I focus on that so much because it's the foundation. If you think about it, confidence is the foundation for the decisions that we make, the people we surround ourselves with, the foods we even allow ourselves to eat, the clothes that we want to wear. Every decision that we can make is built off of confidence in the end. And that's why I think it is so vital for us, if we want our children to have a great shot at life and making good decisions and getting the most out of life successfully. I think it's all going to ride on confidence's back. And it's one of those things. And that's why, like, her saying that just rocks me, because I'm like, how do I fix this? How do I fix this? I know for me, like, am I always going to forever feel confident? No. And having a history with disordered eating and self-harm and body dysmorphia, I will always have a voice in my head that wants to rock and question my confidence and question myself. But I've gotten to a really great place of being me in my last 33 years. My birthday, by the way, was a couple of days ago. Now that you're hearing it on May 16th, my birthday was on May 13th. But I'm now, as you're listening to this, 33 years old. And I've come a long A long way. Oh my gosh. I actually just shared a memory over on my story of me on my previous stories, like 4 years ago, just talking on Instagram, and you could see like the lack of confidence that isn't there. Like you could tell that I was just so timid and so nervous and so unsure. I was like a shell of a person. And now I'm here and I'm like, oh my God, I would never go back. I'm so happy. And I feel like you could see it on me. I can see it on me. And I feel like my narrative in my head is finally like strong. And I feel like I finally have gotten to a place where I talk really kind to myself. Like that's my default, is to talk kind to myself as opposed to how I used to be in the past. And that's taken practice. That's taken huge, huge practice. Like affirmations are a thing, guys. They're a big thing. I think some people think that they're hokey. I used to feel that way too. And it's not magic. Affirmations are not magic. Things like that, manifesting things, are not just magic happening. It is a fake it till you make it type of scenario where if you keep on repeating certain things to yourself, eventually your brain will take it as true. Your brain always wants to default to what it's been taught and what it has learned. And sometimes what we've taught ourselves and what we've learned is the negative. So it's going to go to that route as opposed to the positive route and things like that. And it's just a reframing of our brains and forcing our minds to do that. And I've really gotten to like the whole affirmation manifestation thing. And I swear it's life-changing. Life-changing. If you want a good one, I don't seek, I attract. What belongs to me will simply find me. That is probably one of my favorite affirmations that I say to myself constantly, where it's like, you build it, they will come type of thing. And I swear it works. I swear it works. It's awesome. But with all this being said in this conversation for today, I want to talk about like ways that we could potentially change this narrative of confidence in our kids' brains and kind of what I'm doing. And again, I'm not an expert, so I'm just going to kind of share from my perspective. And also I'm going to pull some of the responses that I got from you guys about this because I shared an ad the other week. Again, this is April 29th that I'm recording this. I shared it about a week ago, an ad from Dove Beauty. And I will link this in the show notes. It's called The Cost of Beauty. If you Google that, you will probably find it. Prepare yourself though. Like this ad caught me off guard and I ugly cried. I ugly cried on the potty seat because I was going to the bathroom at the time and of course watching my phone as most of you do. And I watched this and just started ugly crying, and it talked about like the impact of social media negatively on young girls today. And it was kind of a storyline of a girl that developed an eating disorder and social media kind of fed that. And I asked you guys afterwards about talking about your own experiences and kind of all of those things. And I'm going to pull those up now so we can just kind of use that as our basis. And then I'll tell you my background a little bit, just so that way you can get an idea as to like why this is such a passionate thing for me. But let me grab that. Okay. So in looking at what you guys asked, so I brought this up on the Dove and I kind of said like, hey, if did you ever experience, problems with an eating disorder, body dysmorphia, self-harm, things of that nature? And out of the amount of votes that came in, 796 votes were for yes. 54% of those who answered were a yes, that you have dealt with any of those issues in some capacity. The no's was 46%, but that was 678. It was more than half. Like that's a big thing. I also asked as a human being, as a grown human being at this point, grown woman, man, if you're a man that answered, do you feel that social media has been positive or negative for your mental health today? 166 said it is positive. 1,262 people answered no, it is negative for my mental health. That's a big number. That's a big number for grown adults. Imagine what that is like for children. I know in that Dove ad, they talked, and I think the statistic was 3 out of 5 girls feel negatively impacted by the use of social media. And there's studies that prove it. And I read, I don't know what to do when that time comes for us. We have little kids. We don't have to worry about social media, but it's not going anywhere. And this is like, we're the guinea pig generation at this point. We've never had to deal with what our parents did. Like I got Facebook when I was a senior in high school. I had MySpace before that when I was a freshman, I think, in high school, but it wasn't really anything significant in my life. But we had that, and I had Instagram when I was a senior in college, like nothing of what it's like today, just that it's blown up in the last 5 years or 10 years. And I didn't have this shit to contend to. Like I didn't contend with. It wasn't a significant portion of our worlds. And that was another question I asked was, what do you feel fed into the negative implications of the way you view your body and feel about yourself and your history with an eating disorder, body dysmorphia, self-harm, things like that? And if you didn't have social media, that was the kicker. I wanted to know what kind of was impacting it if it wasn't social media. And I want to sit down and I have to count how many responses I got, because I got pages and pages and pages and pages of responses. I don't think I've ever seen so many responses come into this question. So you could tell I hit something, I struck a nerve. But I know going through that, if I could guess a percentage, I want to say anywhere between 80 to 90% of the answers said my mom as a huge.
We'll be back after a quick break.
Eye-Opening Moments podcast are real-life stories of adversity, encounters, and perspectives. They are moments that can lift your spirits, give you some food for thought, or move you. For the introspective mind that likes to reflect, discover, and find solutions or meaning in a complex life, listen to Eye-Opening Moments podcast.
Pinnacle in the way they viewed themselves and formed thoughts negatively about themselves. And that, again, dagger to the chest, like that kills me. But other answers were like Cosmo magazine, seeing skinny tan girls with flawless skin and perfect skin in teenage magazines. This is one that absolutely shattered me. My sister recently reminded us, I'm the oldest of 4 girls, that my mom used to have a picture of herself on the fridge, and she wrote, "Oink, you're a pig," all over it. That way she wouldn't go and eat. And that just stuck with us. That's awful. Magazines, constant diet fads, MTV, the way our mothers spoke about their own bodies, ballet, that I would imagine that, Kardashians, I was a late bloomer, puberty, I think that's a big one for a lot of people. I'm taller. I've never weighed what short people weigh. I could go on and on and on. Like I have a screenshot right now that I'm reading off of, guys. It's recording. It is 1 minute and 39 seconds long, because that's how long it took me to get through all of these answers. But that's just a sum. Like that is just a sum of it. And I know it spans true for me. Like I know, so the first time I ever thought I was fat, I was 9 years old. We were on a family vacation. I do know at that time I was wearing a training bra, and I'll never forget it because I think that's when I first ever got one, and puberty was starting to kind of show itself a tiny smidge. And I was no means fat. I was no means overweight at all. And I was wearing a training bra, and I will forever remember my mom trying to take a picture of my brother, sister, and I, and she mentioned something about my bra sticking out of my shirt. And so she had said like, "Hey, tuck that back in." And I was so embarrassed. I remember like being in tears. I can see, I have this picture still, and you could tell that I was recently crying because I was so embarrassed. And puberty in general is just such an awkward time. You know that. Like think about it right now. You could pay me all the money in the world and I would not go back to that time in my life. No way. But it's so awkward. And I feel like that's the area that a lot of kids kind of form a lot of these thoughts is during that puberty moment. And I remember being on this vacation, and it was like a day or two before we were leaving, and we had to clear out the fridge that we were, had everything food-wise with the rental that we were staying at. And one of those things that we wanted to clear out so that way we didn't waste it was ice cream. And I remember eating this ice cream and having a thought pop in my head being, "You're fat." Don't know where I got it from. My mom is if you're listening, Mom, like you've done such a wonderful job. Like my mom is one of the most amazing women here on this planet. But I also know that my mom did diet, and I don't know if any of that stuff rubbed off on me. And it's, again, I don't think she ever did it openly. in any of that sort. I know that I picked up on something, whether it was from her or whether it was from my friends and their moms or from whatever. I know like magazines also fed into my shit. And I also I kind of bloomed a little bit later than my friends. I had friends that had big boobs and I remember just being jealous of that. And I always just felt out of sorts. But I will forever feeling that. And then I remember like being in 6th grade and knowing how many points were in an Oreo. Like I just remember all of this stuff. And it sucked. It sucked. That was like the start of it at 12, 9 to 12 was really when all of those thoughts really started to collect itself. And then probably from 13 on, it really started to rear its ugly head. Self-harm started in my freshman year of high school. Self-harm is just, for me, it was cutting myself. And it was a coping mechanism until I could figure out a separate thing to kind of, it turned into more of like a eating disorder. But it started off as self-harm because I needed something to get these emotions out that I wasn't sure how to convey. I do think I struggled with anxiety. I just didn't know how to put a name to it. And, I had trauma in my life. I had a sister that died, like things like that. Like I could really deep dive into that, but I hid it and I hid it from everyone. And I was struggling so hard on the inside. And I was in cheerleading and you had the pressures from that. And like I said, you had the pressures from being in school and just trying to find yourself. And that's why like that whole confidence key is so crucial because the things that I did in high school and the choices I made, I went through like a new phase every single year of high school. Like I went through a stoner phase. I went through a drinking party girl phase. I went through a popular girls phase where I wore like heels to school. I went through a slut phase. Sorry, I hate saying that word, but I did. I was a little hoe. Loved it. Great times. But I made bad decisions. And I just was really out of sorts. And it was because I was trying and hoping that I would encounter someone or something that would be my definition of who I was. I was trying to find someone that would tell me what my story was. And I should have known that myself. Like I should have been the author of my story. I was depending on others to do that for me. And you can't do that. You cannot do that. And when you don't have that, that's when the choices come in. Like I said, it's the foundation for every other decision you will make moving forward. And so, that was high school. It started to turn more into disordered eating. I would go on crash diets. Slim Fast was a big one. Weight Watchers was another big one, but I would eat only half of my points on Weight Watchers and then just know because I was not eating as many, I would probably lose a little bit more weight. I would throw up my food. That was a big one. I would go running after I ate until I threw up, or I would exercise until 1 o'clock in the morning. I would my parents would think I was, sleeping and I'd be working out, or I'd go upstairs after eating something and go do crunches. It was really, really fucked up. Anyway, so I did that. And I then went to college. And again, that's a new spot because you're in a new environment. I went to Purdue University in Indiana. I was away from New Jersey. Didn't go with anyone. The only person there that was familiar was my brother. And I just, kind of tried to reinvent myself. And same thing, relied on everyone else to write my story for me when I should have known it all along. And I went through a year. My freshman year was me being very unsure of myself. And I met someone that he was the most toxic relationship I've ever been in my life. But I went with it because, again, relied on someone to define me. I let him treat me terribly. I let him speak to me terribly. Made poor decisions. Sophomore year, broke it off with him in hopes of gaining me back, and entered into multiple other relationships and made really bad decisions in terms of I was drinking so much. I was binge drinking a ton, eating a ton. I gained a lot of weight. And you could tell it was unhealthy weight gain from alcohol and food. And then the next year, because I was so miserable, I then went the complete opposite, where I was not eating anything but a pack of oatmeal once a day. And I was taking Adderall like it was my job. I wasn't prescribed Adderall. You could get Adderall easily, but I knew it suppressed your appetite. So I easily always got it from my friends, and I would take it from them. And I would do anything coffee, Sudafed even, like things like that I knew was going to suppress my appetite I would take. And I would go lock myself down into like the library and go stay there. I didn't go out with anyone. I didn't even really talk to anyone. Something was significantly going on with me. And thankfully, my brother was still there at that point. My sister-in-law was there, and she wasn't married to my brother at this point, but they were dating. And she and I were close friends, and she knew that shit was going on. And she called me out on it, and she would invite me over, and she didn't really ask me what was going on. She kind of just was like, so if you're listening, sister-in-law, she is, thank you for that. But, I got down to like 88, 87 pounds. It was like, I would wake up early in the morning, and I would pull out a little scale out of our room before anyone else could see me and weigh myself. And I would do it daily. I'd sometimes do it twice a day. And it was a control thing. It was such a control thing. And I finally like broke. I kind of had a breakdown, and thankfully I was already scheduled to go study abroad in London. So I went and did that. And that kind of shook me a little bit out of my shell. But again, I then went rebound and went into binge eating and binge drinking. And I was like belligerent in London. And I feel so bad for my roommates that were with me that they didn't know me. It was like a random program. So you're kind of with new people. I feel so bad for them in terms of how I acted. I know my roommate probably hated me. So again, if you're listening to this, I am so sorry. I was going through something that I wish I wish I was in a better state of mind when I went. Cause I probably would have enjoyed it way more than I did. And, that was hard. And then when I came back my senior year, and, finished out that final year, I broke down so many times. I'll never forget being in my closet in our apartment, having a meltdown because none of the clothes that I bought when I was at my skinniest were fitting me. And I felt out of control. It was a control thing. And I really melted down, and self-harm came out because again, now I was losing control with the food thing. So what else can I do and gain back that? And it would, be self-harm. And, finally I broke. And I think I came home to my mom or something, and we determined that I was going to be doing like intensive therapy on campus. Thankfully, they offered that, and I did that, and then I went to like group therapy, and I wouldn't say it healed it, but it was enough for me to like figure out coping mechanisms and talk to someone about it without like judgment and any of that. But I graduated, and I definitely wasn't like. I have pictures of myself as a senior, and it was just, you could tell that something was off with me. I met Kev after that, and thankfully, like like I said, confidence thing, like trying to rely on people to like define who I was. I did that a little bit with Kev, but thankfully I landed at Kev's doorstep and at his feet and in the arms of someone that is so kind and so loving, and he loved me and allowed me to continue discovering who and what that story was. And he helped me kind of navigate that until the day that we got married. And the final healing came from motherhood. It did. It absolutely came from motherhood. Motherhood was meant for me. It healed me in ways that I never, ever anticipated. Ever. I didn't expect the things it would do for me. It challenged me. It still challenges me. But now that I have 2 daughters and of course a son, that's, he's just as at risk of, the feeling poor about himself, but especially the girlfriend, like I've had to really revisit, how I talk about myself, how I think about myself. And, it's been good. It's been very good for me. I'll always live with it. I'll always live with like the nasty little voice in my head that wants to try and trick me. But I've come to really gain the tools that I need in order to combat the little bitch that she is. And I feel really good. So with that being said, that's why this is so passionate to me. Like I can talk forever about this. And for me, like in terms of like what I've done in order to combat this is, like I said, affirmations, like talking kind to yourself, make it a habit. List off things. Start small. It could be the sound of your voice, the way you write. Maybe it's your handwriting. Maybe it's the nail, like the shape of your nails. Maybe you have nice hands. Maybe you have nice feet. Maybe you have nice hair. Maybe you do your makeup really well. Maybe you have a really great sense of humor. Start small. Start small. It doesn't have to be like, I love my belly button. Like, it doesn't have to be that. Like, I know it's hard, especially if you're postpartum. It may be hard to see your body looking different, but start small, and it's going to be really easy to start appreciating the body you have if we can start there. So I would start that. In terms of social media, for the 1,200 people that said it is negatively impacting you, you need to be choosy. You need to be picky. If for any reason my account makes you question yourself, if my account makes you compare, if my account makes you feel less than, poorly, unfollow me. If any other account does the same, unfollow. It's very easy. Block. Even if you're tired of seeing the content, block them. Easy as that. Okay. You have to set up boundaries big time on social media. Try not starting your day with social media. Try not ending your day with social media. Surround yourself with accounts that make you smile. Surround yourself with people in your life that feel like sunshine. Like, think about that. That's what you need to construct. If it doesn't make you laugh and if it doesn't teach you something good, get rid of them. Okay. So there's that. And in terms of, what else we can do, I think we need to stop talking about our bodies or other people's bodies even. I can tell you one of the biggest things that impacted me as a kid also was I was always compared to my grandma on my dad's side, and she was a beautiful, wonderful woman. Oh my gosh, she was so wonderful. She died when I was 13, but she was just like the best Nana ever. And I was always compared to her. Like, I remember being like, you look like your Nana, things like that. But then I would also hear like, your Nana was also a little bit heavier. Your grandma was a little I would hear things like that. And a little bit fuller, like things like that. And then, so now I'm being compared to my grandma, and then I'm hearing like kind of negative remarks being made against her, like about her. That was a complex. So think about that. If you all of a sudden are criticizing your thighs or your butt or your nose or whatever, what if your children have those features? What are they going to think about it? So that's why you really have to be careful about what we are saying about others. Obviously, what we're saying about us, those things really do matter. I think that's a big thing. In terms of our kids, again, I'm not there yet, so I really can't weigh in on this in terms of social media, but I think you need to know what's going on in their phones constantly. I know Kev says that all the time, being, what he does with work, but we need to know exactly what our children are doing on their phones. I think we need to set up boundaries with them if they are going to have a phone, and kind of control it from that method. And then I also think, I had Dr. Ali Delosier. I would highly encourage you guys to go listen to that episode. It's from season 1. I may get this wrong. I think it's season 18. If not, but look it up. It's Dr. Ali Delosier. We're talking about, the positive relationship with foods. And that's a biggie for me. Like, there are no healthy, unhealthy foods in my household. I don't like those talk about good versus bad, because I do not want my kids to have a complex about eating certain things, and forming, like fast food is bad or there's none of it. Moderation, balance is life. You need to be able to have that stuff, because I don't want them one day to go have McDonald's and then want to throw it up afterwards because they think it is bad food. And you can pick that apart all you want and be like, it is bad food. It's food. You can have it once every blue moon and you are fine, type of thing. That's what I want my kids to know. I want them to know that they can enjoy themselves. They can enjoy life, and they can do things in moderation, just like everything else. Life is about balance. So those are the things that I'm doing. Again, I have work to do, clearly. I'm trying to, I'm still even trying to navigate what Cassie said to me. I don't feel beautiful. I'm going to use this podcast as kind of my thought process, because I'm obviously talking to myself. But you guys, message me on Instagram or when I share this on Instagram, the reel that I'll do for it. Tell me what you think on below in terms of how you would approach that with your children. If you heard your children talking poorly about themselves, what's your approach? What do you think your approach would be in that, and hoping to teach our kids confidence and giving them that gift of both confidence and joy, because it's just, that's new for me. It's new for me. It's taken me 33 years of learning it. So for me to like feel like I'm capable of teaching it is a little difficult, but I know I can because I can teach them, you know, based off of my own experiences of what I don't want them to know versus what I do want them to know. But I really want a different story for my girls. I really, really want a different story for my children. So in here, we're at 37 minutes, 25 seconds. I'm going to go and we're going to talk about this more on Instagram, but check yourselves, guys. Check yourselves. Check your relationship with social media. Check your relationships with yourself. Talk kind to yourself because you deserve it. You deserve to feel amazing in whatever way you are. Loving yourself and accepting yourself are two completely different things. You can love yourself. You can love yourself at its core, and you can also love yourself enough to want to instill change. That's important. We should always be striving for constant learning and change. That's not a bad thing. It's just the core portion is important, and that's what I want to encourage ourselves to really visit and be nice, be kind to yourself, okay? Because you're incredible. You are so incredible, and you are so special. And you listening right here now and staying to this portion means that you want to do that for yourself, that you need that reminder, and you want to do that for generations before. And that makes me so excited. There's so many reasons why I'm so excited for the parents today, because I think we're so aware of this stuff, and I think we're going to break so many cycles. And the kids of the future, hopefully, will be so much better off for it. So you're amazing. You are enough. And I'm so glad you are here today, sitting with me, listening, and being my friend, because that's exactly what you are. So go on with your bad self. Bye. I don't know. Another episode down and way more to go. But thank you so much for listening. If you enjoyed this episode and you would like to help support this podcast, I would love for you to subscribe. I'd love for you to share it with others and post about it on your own social media, or leave a rating and review. I cannot tell you how helpful and how appreciated those things are for me. Of course, to catch all the latest from me, you can follow me over on Instagram at The Very Merry Life, over on TikTok, The Very Merry Life. And even if you wanted to check out my monthly newsletter, you can do so by subscribing over at theverymerrylife.com. I'll see you next week. Stay tuned for more honest, raw, real chit chat. I have some amazing moms lined up coming on, and shit's going to get fun. So buckle up, Buttercup. It's going to be good.